What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. I was born to succeed, not to be a spoke in the wheel. Told myself there's more to this than just waking up when I feel. So I made a commitment to turn my earnings up. Couldn't see myself as an employee that still couldn't. Looked in the mirror, saw a spark in my eye. Knew I had to hustle and stop living a lie. I packed my dreams in a suitcase, took the first train. I'm headed for the horizon with success is no doubt.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of What's Holding You Back. My name is Rob McCray from the Business Building Network, and I am so excited to be with you once again for another Wednesday edition of What's Holding You Back. And yes, we have a wonderful broadcast in store for you today as we're going to be discussing a very, very important topic. And that topic has to do with retirement. Can we really afford to retire? That is the question of the day. And we're going to be going into that in just a little bit, as this is going to be the first part of a two-part series on retirement. So for the first part, we're just going to go over some of the things that you really need to be aware of and start planning for as we look forward to going into those years of retirement and living the good life. And then on week 2, next week, we're going to have our sis come back, Sister Tiffany Ford, our financial analysis, and she's going to be creating a plan for us and strategizing and showing us some different things that we need to have in place to ensure that once we do get to that place of retirement, we don't have to get back up and go back to work. So yes, very much looking forward to this conversation for today and next week as well. So as you're jumping on board, please, by all means, leave us a comment in the chat. Let us know where you are tuning in from. We would love to welcome you to our broadcast and being a part of our discussion for today. So yes, really looking forward to it. So just going to do a brief recap of our broadcast from last week in case you missed that one. And last week we talked about, are you holding yourself back so that others can shine? And this was a very, very, informative discussion and had so many viewpoints and different perspectives on this. But yes, it was very insightful. And I think we had some good takeaways from this particular discussion in knowing that we don't have to necessarily stand in the background or stand off to the side in order for someone else to shine and have their time in the light. So we were of the collective response that two lights can always shine better than one. So instead of standing in the background, why not come together and complement one another and let that light shine even brighter? So yes, that was our discussion from last week. So if you missed that, I want to encourage you to go back and watch it here on our very own YouTube channel for What's Holding You Back Now, and take a look at that discussion from last week. It was very, very informative and uplifting as well. So yes, that was from last week. But today we're going to be talking about, can we really afford to retire? And as I stated previously, this is going to be the first part in a two-part discussion. So as for today, we're just going to be going over some of the things that you truly need to be aware of as we are approaching, or some of you may already be in that retirement stage. So yes, God bless you if you are, and hopefully you are enjoying that time of retirement and getting to do some of the things in which you so desired in life. So that's what retirement is all about, kicking back, relaxing, enjoying your life, and collecting the fruits of your previous labor. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So without any further ado, let us get into our topic for today and talk about some of the things that you really need to be aware of when creating a plan to prepare yourself to live that retired life. All right, so first things, when we talk about retirement, we definitely have to have a plan in place. And like I said earlier, we're going to have our financial analysis come with us next week. And she's going to help us in creating a plan to make sure we have enough resources, enough investment opportunities, enough money set aside so that we can fully enjoy our retirement. But there are some factors that are going to go into play that can really be a detriment to our income that has already been set aside for our retirement. And one of those things that we really have to take notice of and be very aware of is inflation. Yes, so inflation is going to play a big part in the amount of money that you have saved up or incoming towards your retirement. So what is inflation? Inflation is inflation is the general increase in the price of goods and services across an economy over a period of time. So yes, inflation is going to play a huge factor in how much money you need to have saved up and put aside and how much money you need to have coming in when your time for retirement actually comes, because the money that you see or have now is not going to measure up or have the same value, say 5, 10, 15, or 20 years from now. And that's in large part because of inflation. All right, so the long-term historical average for the United States inflation rate is approximately 3.2% per year. And through central banks like the Federal Reserve, they aggressively target a modern benchmark of only 2% annually, which is low than what the actual number is, which is the 3.2%, which I take that into account when we're trying to factor how much money we're going to need to have in order to live a retired life in which we will not have to go back out and seeking other income sources to sustain us through that time of retirement. So there are many factors that can play a part in how the inflation rate is going to actually increase or decrease. So one of the things that factors into this are global events. Like we had the pandemic a few years back, 2019, 2020. And the pandemic pushed up the inflation rate to a peak of 9.1% in 2022. It gradually cooled down to 2.9% in 2024 and 2.6% in 2025. And currently, the inflation rate is around 3.4 to 3.7% in this year of 2026, and it is still climbing, and it's forecasted to go even higher. So if you are budgeting for retirement, let's say you're looking at retirement within the next 10 years or so. So we have to factor in inflation when making our calculations. So you have to say that for every $100,000, it's going to require you to have roughly 128,000 to 138,000 in the year of 2036, excuse me, to sustain the exact same standard of living. So that just goes to show you, let me just bring up my slide real quick. That just goes to show you that that same amount of money, $100,000 today, will not be of the same equivalent. You're going to need 3 times that amount in 10 years from now if the inflation rate is only at 3%. And if it increases even more, then of course you're going to need even more money to be equivalent to that same $100,000 in which you are earning now. All right, so let's talk about the cash erosion effect. So if you have $100,000 just sitting under your mattress, right? It's not gaining any interest or accumulating any other assets. So this purchasing power from this $100,000 is going to decrease to 78,000 or 72,000 over 10 years. Now that's a big drop. We're talking about $22,000 to $27,000 loss on your money, the value of that money in just 10 years. So you can just imagine what 20 or 30 years from now, what's that going to look like when it comes to having enough money set aside to pay your bills, have food to eat. And that's not even talking about any other activities that you may want to do, like traveling and things of that nature. But just to sustain yourself is going to be quite expensive, and is going to be even more expensive depending on what the inflation rates are. So these are very important factors that we need to keep in mind to ensure that we are positioning ourselves to have the necessary resources in place so that we can stay retired and not have to get back up and go back to work, because that is the saddest situation to see. You see it all the time. A lot of elderly folks, once they start to get up in age, they take home their pension and they want to retire, but they soon find out that the income that they're making from retirement is not enough to sustain them and pay off their bills. So eventually they have to get back up and go back out to work. And that is very, very disturbing to see. But that is why we're having this discussion now. So we want to make sure that you're putting a plan in place so that you will not be one of those statistics that will have to go back to work once you get to that time of retirement. All right. So let's look at one of the rules of thumb. And one of those rules of thumb is, let me just pull this up real quick. All right. Sorry about that. So a common financial rule of thumb is to have about 12 times your final annual salary saved up. So if you're making $100,000 per year, we're just going to stick with that number as we're going through these these charts and information. So if you earn under $100,000 per year, when you stop working, you should aim to have roughly $1.2 million set aside, or 12 times your final annual salary. So wow, that is a big, big gap. So how many people have $1.2 million set aside just in their savings? I would imagine that there are not too many of us that have that amount of money saved up, but that just goes to show with inflation, the cost of living, and everything else, in order for us to be able to sustain ourselves and live a comfortable life in the years and time of retirement, we're going to have a nice bit of income coming in to be able to stay retired. All right. So many experts suggest that you will need 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income to live comfortably. And your Social Security should cover a portion of this, and your personal savings should cover the rest. All right. So let's talk about what the retirement age is here in the United States. So the retirement age in the United States to receive a full retirement is at the age of 67. They keep increasing the age limit every few years. So this is fluctuating and it continues to change. So we just have to monitor that, excuse me, to see what the actual year, the age is going to be for that time in which we do decide to take retirement. So the full retirement to get your full range of benefits currently is the age of 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later. So here are some other key retirement ages that you need to be aware of. So at age 62, this is actually the earliest age you can start collecting Social Security. Claiming early Social Security benefits is going to reduce the monthly amount in which you are going to receive. So that is one of the drawbacks when it comes to retiring early or at the age of 62, the first year in which you will be able or eligible to retire. All right. So another age we need to look at is the age of 65. And this is the standard age to sign up for Medicare health insurance. And even if you delay your Social Security benefits, this will still have a huge impact. All right. So at age 67, this is where you get your full retirement benefits for people born in 1960 or later. And at this age, you get 100% of your earned benefits. So there will be no deductions from the monthly amount in which you are to receive from Social Security. And at age 70, so you're taking retirement at a later age than the age of 67. So the latest age to boost your actual Social Security benefits is the age of 70, meaning that if you take your retirement at 70 instead of 67, it's going to increase your monthly payments for your Social Security benefits. And that's just because you're now going to have a little less time to receive those Social Security benefits as opposed to if you took the retirement at 67, right? So let's look at what these Social Security benefit numbers actually look like, the amount of payment you may receive. So to get a $3,000 monthly security benefit at your full retirement age of 67, you would have needed to earn about $108,000 to $115,000 per year over your top 35 earning years. So what are they saying? So they're saying that you should have worked at least 35 years and your average annual income was between the range of $108,000 to $115,000 in order for you to earn back $3,000 a month. Think about that. Who, please tell me who, can live off of $3,000 per month? All right, so let's continue. So, like we talked about earlier, if you delay your claim for Social Security, you wait until you're 70 years of age, you can qualify for the same $3,000 per month with a lower average yearly income of roughly $70,000 to $80,000. So if you wait until you're 70 years old to file for Social Security, then if you had an income over those 35 years of $70,000 to $80,000, then you can still collect that same $3,000 in monthly Social Security benefits. All right. Yeah. So just looking at that number there, that's a big reason why we see so many seniors having to go back to work after they have um, filed for retirement, and they find out that they're not able to maintain themselves, especially with the cost of living and inflation increasing each and every year. All right, so the maximum Social Security amount, if you want the absolute maximum benefit, which is $4,152 a month at the full retirement age of 67, you must earn the maximum taxable wage limit, which is 184,000 in those 35 years in which you have worked, right? So that $184,000 is going to be the average annual salary in order to receive the maximum benefits of $4,152. All right. Hold on, let me see. We got a couple of comments in there. Let me just check them real quick. Okay, so Mrs. Jones says 3K is barely, yeah, right, barely enough now. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine 10 years from now? I don't even think you can get a place to stay for $3,000 in another 10 years. So, how are you going to eat? How are you going to uh, entertain yourself? How are you going to pay your other bills? How are you going to pay insurance or anything else? I mean, it's just crazy. So this is why we're having this discussion, so you can be aware of what you're going to be going into once you get to that place in time of going into retirement. So we have to plan accordingly, and we have to gather all of this information and have a good understanding of what we're dealing with, so we don't find ourselves in a bad predicament. All right. So that is your Social Security benefits. And another thing that we really need to talk about here, right? So CNBC reported that Social Security Retirement Reserve Fund will run out of extra money, whatever extra money is, by late 2032. That's only 6 years from now. And your government has been openly discussing the removal of these Social Security benefits altogether. They have been talking about this for the last couple of years now. So, in my eyes, it's just a matter of time before they are going to do away with these Social Security benefits altogether. So, brothers and sisters, I would say to you, do not expect or make yourself reliant upon this, when your time of retirement comes, because it just may not be there for you. All right. So, what happens when the Social Security reserve runs out? So, the government says the program survives. The program will not close or go bankrupt. So, you can take that with a grain of salt. And the reason why they're saying this won't happen is because workers keep paying their payroll taxes every month. Yes, this is true. Although the current diminishing workforce will not be able to sustain it. So that's why they're forecasting that it will eventually run out, and it will. So benefits will be cut. Tax money will only pay out about 78 of the promised benefits if Congress takes no action. So if only 78% of the benefits can be paid out, then that monthly income is going to be decreased or diminished even more. So then that's, just a whole nother situation there. So it's really, really going to be hard, um, depending on your Social Security benefits when it comes to having that money for your retirement. So why is Social Security running out? Well, a couple of things. There are fewer workers in the workplace. Why? Because the birth rates are so low. I remember back in the day growing up, you would see families were pretty large, 5, 6, 7 people in a household. But now families are very low. You might see 1 or 2 kids in a household, but the gone are the times where you see a lot of children in a household, and that's why the um, the employment rate, not the employment rate, but the amount of people in the workforce is so much diminished and decreased because the population has been decreased from the amount of people coming into the workforce. So that's why we're seeing such low numbers when it comes to that. And we're also now seeing more and more retirees. Why? Because of the baby boomers. And the baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. So right about now, you're looking at about the people within the 60 to 80-year age range. They are a part of the baby boomer class. And the baby boomers were spurred on by the end of World War II, which ended in 1945. So when all of those men came home from the war, they started making a baby making factory. So yes, that caused the baby boom, and that's why we saw such a huge increase in the population. And now, as the baby boomers are starting to dwindle off, you're seeing more and more retirees, and now the numbers within our workforce are greatly, greatly diminishing. All right. So another factor is people are living longer nowadays, lives today, and this is why we're seeing the benefits run dry along with mismanage of the money by our very dear government. All right, so let's look at a retirement pension. Bring this up real quick. Okay, we got a couple of comments. Let me just pull these up real quick. Mrs. Jones says, so good, so many people think it's just a given or expectation. And this younger generation are not working traditional jobs to contribute to Social Security. Yes, this is true. A lot of people now, especially this Generation X, Generation Z. Um, they're doing other things to provide an income for themselves, whether that be through social media, doing their own businesses, so on and so forth. So they're not in the traditional workforce. So this has a great impact into people contributing into the Social Security benefits. And so this is another big factor as to why you're seeing the Social Security benefits start to run out. All right, so now we're going to talk about your pension retirement fund. So we just talked about your Social Security, which is one form of income stream that you can have, that you may have when it comes to retirement. And now we're going to talk a little bit about your pension fund from your workplace when it comes to having another income stream for you when you get to that age of retirement. So a retirement pension is an employer-sponsored plan that guarantees a regular lifetime income once you stop working for that company and meet their requirements. Now, keep in mind, not every company is going to offer you a retirement pension, and there are certain parameters or qualifications or years in service that you're going to have to meet in order to get these pension benefits. And now, what companies are doing now, they're a lot of times offering their employees an early buyout. They can take an early retirement so they don't have to pay them the full amount. Or sometimes they just let people go before they can actually get to that time limit where they're going to be able to qualify to receive that pension. So, it's becoming harder and harder for people to be able to earn their retirement benefits. So traditional pensions are defined benefit plans. Your employee promises a specific monthly payout for your retirement. The company or government agency funds and manages the plan's investments. Yes, they invest into the stock market, into IRAs and other investment plans with this retirement funds that they're putting forth towards your retirement. And the stock market is going to have a big factor, is going to play a big factor in the amount of pension that you are able to earn during that time period. So that's another thing that you need to be aware of and be tracking the stock markets, the mutual funds, and see what these funds are doing, because it's going to ultimately impact you as to the amount of money that you will be able to retire with. So you want to definitely keep your eyes on that, and I would encourage you to get a financial advisor and set it up where you can divert some of those funds into your own personal savings plan or something else in which you have more control over. Because when it's just in the hands of your company, then you have no control over what they're investing in. And if the market crashes, then that's going to affect your actual pension retirement fund, and it's going to lower the amount that you can actually receive when your time for retirement comes. Excuse me. All right. So your employer takes on the financial risks of market changes, not you. Yeah, well, that's what they say, but yes, you are taking a risk because it's actually supposed to be your retirement fund. So if the market crashes, who's that affecting? You or the company? that's affecting you because it's your money that's sitting in that account. So the payouts, your benefit amounts uses a formula based on your salary history, your age, and years of service to that company. You must work for the employer for a required period of time. Your employer should let you know what amount of years you need to work with that company, whether it be consecutive years or sometimes they will give you some grace if there is a slight disruption in service, and you can still qualify for your pension without having to start over. But every company is different, and so are the years in which you will be required to work to earn your pension, right? So most plans let you start collecting benefits between the ages of 55 and 65. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of companies were offering the early retirement package um, as an incentive to reduce the amount that they would have to pay out to you as the employee, or they would just sometimes let the employee go before they actually get to that point of where they're going to be entitled to receive those benefits. So you have to be very, very careful, especially nowadays. So the payment choices, there are different options. Um, op- Options often include single life annuity, which are payments that are made over the continuation of your life. And there's also a joint and survivor annuity, which are continuing payments for your spouse. Or you can take a single lump sum payout, which there will be some penalties involved in that. So, it's totally up to you, but it works out better for you financially if you take the annuity, which is a monthly payment over the duration of your life. All right. All right. So these retirement pensions are impacted by the stock market, as stated earlier. And this can be very concerning if the markets crash, as we as we can see, with things that are going on now within our economy. Inflation is increasing. The stock market is up and down, but there is an expected crash to take place. So these are things that we need to be aware of, and we need to be monitoring these things. So in the event that you do have money tied up in the stock market with any of your retirement funds or anything else, any other investments, you need to um, monitor what's going on and have a financial advisor in place to help you out to ensure that your money is placed in the proper place and you're going to get the best possible returns on your investments. All right. And like I stated earlier, we're going to have our sis Tiffany Ford. She's going to come on with us next week, next Wednesday here, and she's going to be providing some strategies and financial planning assistance to help us in putting the best possible plan in place to help us to ensure that we have everything in order when we get to that place in time of retirement, so that we can enjoy that time and do all the things in which we so desire to do. All right, so that is our pension fund. So now let's go into healthcare. All right. Good evening, Pastor Fred. Bless you, sir. Good to have you with us. Yes, sir. All right, so here's another one. Another issue, or should I say, another how should I phrase it? Another bill, so to speak, that we're going to need to have in place, another service, I should say, that we're going to need to have in place, especially during our time of retirement. Because as we all know, we're not getting any younger. So the older that we get, or the more mature that we get, we're going to start to run into some health issues. And as we all know, these medical expenses can add up very quickly and become very, very expensive. So if we don't have a good health care plan in place, this can totally wipe out any investments or savings that we have in place. And this can, really create some big problems for us when we get to the time and age of retirement. So, all right, so when dealing with healthcare, talking about Medicare and Medicaid. So retirees age 65 and older primarily use Medicare, while early retirees under 65 rely on the health insurance marketplace or alternative private coverage. So Medicare Part A and Part B, known as Original Medicare. Part A, this covers your hospital stay. And Part B covers your doctor's visits. So most people qualify automatically at age 65. Now, the Medicare Advantage Part C, offered by private companies approved by Medicare as an alternative to Original Medicare, often building extra benefits like vision or dental. So yes, that is the vision and dental part of it. That is going to be Medicare Part C. And then they have another program which is called Medigap. This is a Medicare supplemental insurance. This is a private insurance that helps pay out of pocket costs like copays and deductibles not covered by your original Medicare. And then you have Medicare Part D, which is an optional private insurance that helps lower prescription drug costs. And for anyone that is taking any meds, I know you know how expensive these medications are. So anything that you can do to reduce these costs would be of great, great benefit. All right, so let's look at Medicaid. So Medicaid provides free or low-cost health coverage for retirees with very limited income and resources. So in talking about Medicare and Medicaid, we can see that our medical expenses will be taken care of. Well, not so fast there. Just a minute. So I have to tell you about this big, beautiful bill that went into effect on July the 4th of 2025. And this is going to affect Medicare and Medicaid going forward. So you say, how so? All right, so Medicare and Medicaid are not completely removed, but both programs face major funding reductions. Also going to face eligibility restrictions and rule changes that will cause millions of people to lose their coverage or pay higher costs. Wow. Recent legislation slashes federal spending on Medicaid by roughly $1 trillion over the next decade. Wow, it's getting better and better by the minute. Alongside new administrative hurdles. So new federal policies introduce work reporting requirements, more frequent eligibility checks, and a narrow definition of who is exempt. Mm. Then we have immigrant eligibility starting October 1st, 2026. Eligibility for non citizens, immigrants is heavily restricted, ending coverage for many who previously qualified. Wow. Coverage loss. Advocacy groups and budget offices estimate that stricter rules and reduced funding will cause millions of low income individuals, families, and people with disabilities to lose their Medicaid coverage. Wow. So, as you can see, there are many factors working against us when it comes to living a comfortable retired life. So we just talked about your health benefits. A lot of these health benefits are being stripped away, your Medicaid and your Medicare. And you see people speaking about it all the time now. They have lost their health care benefits. And these are people that have been, reliant upon the system to take care of their medical needs. And now they have to do without. And people are just, lost. They don't know what they're going to do for themselves because they have no means to pay out of pocket. So what do? They just become more and more sick. And then eventually, unfortunately, they're going to die off. But that's what the system has done. And it's really sad to see that, this country, America, United States of America, the richest country in the world, cannot provide health care services for its people. It will let them sit there and die on the streets. Cannot provide housing for its people. You see all the homeless people out there? And that situation is only going to get worse as we see inflation continue to rise and rise even more. So when we look at trying to position ourselves for retirement, you're really going to have a nice, a good amount of money set aside in your savings just to maintain your normal everyday bills. It's going to be very hard for anyone, as we went over the Social Security benefits, the max you're going to earn from Social Security, well, not earn because it's money that you work for and put into the system. The max that you can get back on your Social Security benefits is $4,000 a month. If you're earning, I believe it was $180,000 average for 35 years, then you can get $4,000 a month. Come on. How you living off of that? And if you don't have a pension from your job, and jobs are not no longer offering the well, let me not say that, but they're trying to stay away from keeping people on the job for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be, so they can earn the retirement benefits because they don't want to pay that money into the system, pay that money back into you for your retirement. So what do? You get to the 10-year mark, cut you short. They go find them a part-time employee to take your place. Why? So they won't have to pay into your retirement benefits. That's how the system is set up. It's sad to see, how the system, the government, big corporations treat these people that have built up their companies, their big conglomerates, and just put them out on the cold now, and bring in somebody on a part-time basis because they know they don't have to pay them those benefits. And then when you get up in age and you're looking forward to having a time to retire and enjoy the fruits of your labor, a lot of people are not going to be able to do it. Why? Because they don't have a pension fund set up that they can try to live off of. Their Social Security benefits are not going to be enough. Even with the two of them combined together, you might get by. You might get by. But don't let you have a medical crisis that could wipe out everything. So, family, I just wanted to share that information with you. Bless you, Pastor. Thank you so much. And make you aware, these are things that you really, really need to be informed about. You need to do your homework, your research, and understand what you're really looking at when it comes to positioning yourself to retire, and not to mention the inflation. So when we factor in inflation, what is it, 3% now, and rising. So when you factor in all of these things, when it comes to having enough money for you to live off of, when you get to that age of retirement where you're not any longer in the workforce, it's going to be very, very hard for you to maintain yourself, for you to survive. So that's why we have to have a plan in place. Make sure we have some other investments set up for you so that you will have other sources of income coming in to supplement these other incomes and make it possible for you to live a comfortable and enjoyable retirement life. Because it's no need for you to work all your life. You sit back, go to retire for 1 to 2 years just to find out, I'm not going to be able to make it like this. I don't have enough income coming in to pay off my monthly bills. So now what? You get back up and try to go to work. But nobody's going to hire you now. You're up in age. That's just a reality. So we have to have a plan in place. So I encourage you to tune in next week. As I said earlier, we're going to have our financial analysis and advisor, Sister Tiffany Ford. She's going to come back on with us next week. She's going to help us in structuring a financial plan, some other strategies that we can have in place to ensure that when we get to that place, that time of retirement, we can stay retired, enjoy the fruits of our labors. So yes, family, we're going to close things out for this evening. I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining us and being a part of the discussion today. I love all of your feedback, and thank you so much for that. So once again, my name is Rob McCray from the Business Building Network. And if you have not already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is What's Holding You Back Now. And you can see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Leave our video a like, leave a comment, and by all means, share it out as well. This is some very important information that everyone needs to hear. So please share it out and spread the word. And be sure to join us next week for our next edition of What's Holding You Back.
What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky. Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. I was born to succeed, not to be a spoke in the wheel. Told myself there's more to this than just waking up when I feel. So I made a commitment to turn my earnings up. Couldn't see myself as an employee that still couldn't. Looked in the mirror, saw a spark in my eye. Knew I had to hustle and stop living a lie. I packed my dreams in a suitcase, took the first train out, headed for the horizon with success is no doubt. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky. What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky. Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky.